Hey everyone, it's Brian. If you're getting ready to play Draw Steel, you need to know what potency is and how it works. We'll answer both those questions right now. Potency is something that both monsters and player characters have. It's also a game mechanic you can interact with. Let's look at the monsters version first. On one side of the screen is the demon Ruinant from the first backer packet, and on the other is the same monster from the second backer packet. There are other differences between the two, but right now we only care about this red text, M less than 2. This is the monster's potency. Now, M means might, one of Drawsteel's 6 characteristics. If the Ruinant targets you with its Bloodletting Claws ability and rolls a Tier 3 result, 17 or higher, you take 5 damage. And if your might is less than 2, you're also bleeding. That's it. If your score is less than this number, you fail. No rolling. This is potency. You can see in the old monster how the bleeding was automatic. This sped up the game, but it didn't feel good as a player. Stuff was happening to you without any way for you to resist it, stop it, interact with it. It didn't feel good. Let's look at another example. Here's the demon Corrigant, I'm not sure which is right. The old one and the new one. The new one is more consistent and easier to understand. It also shows how fine-tuned potency can be, with eye or intuition less than 1, 2, or 3 depending on the result of the power roll. Because the power roll has these tiers of results, means so too can potency, or any other game mechanic attached to the power roll now or in the future. It seems likely that more powerful monsters will have a potency effect at every tier, while less powerful monsters like the Ruinant will only have it at the Tier 3 result. Now let's look at potency for player characters. Each character has 3 potencies: weak, average, or strong. These potencies are calculated by taking a specific characteristic score and subtracting 2 for the weak potency and 1 for the average potency. The strong potency is just the straight score, no math. Let's look at the sensor, which is the class I'm most interested in right now. A sensor's potency is always based on its presence score, which is their primary characteristic. And every other class will work this way, with their potency always calculated off of their primary characteristic. At first level, a sensor's presence is 2, so their weak potency is 0, average is 1, and strong potency is 2. At higher levels, scores get higher, and so your potencies will get higher too. Pretty self-explanatory. But what do you do with potency? Well, here are some abilities that use my potency the same way that the monsters do. Here's an example. Halt, Miscreant. Again, all we care about is the red text right now. P stands for presence, less than your weak potency, less than your average potency, or less than your strong potency. At level 1, that's P less than 0, less than 1, or less than 2. Now, because this is your ability, the P here is targeting the monster's presence, not your presence. Here's another example, also from the sensor. This ability targets the monster's intuition instead of presence, but the weak, average, strong is still the same, 0, 1, or 2. Your potency will always be the same. It's always calculated using the same characteristic. But your abilities will target different characteristics of the monsters that are affected by those abilities. Players will always know their character's potency. It's easy to calculate and will only change when characters level up and increase their characteristic scores. Now, because potency is a game mechanic, it means there are also now abilities that interact with it. Here's an example from the Elementalist class. This is a triggered action, or reaction in D&D terms. The main function is that it halves the damage the character or their ally takes, but it comes with a rider. If the damage has any potency effect, then the Elementalist can spend 1 essence, which is their class resource, to reduce the potency hurdle by 1. Let's go back to the Ruinant example we looked at earlier. The Ruinant attacks the Elementalist and gets a Tier 3 result, which applies a bleed effect if the Elementalist might is less than 2. Let's say the Elementalist might is 1, and they really don't want to suffer from bleeding. They can use this triggered action, Skin Like Castle Walls, to spend 1 essence and reduce the potency to 1. Because their might is 1, they pass and don't suffer from bleeding. Hopefully you've noticed something important by now. Potencies are known static values. In that prior example, if the elementalist's might was 0, it wouldn't have been worth it to spend resources and lower the hurdle from 2 to 1. They would still fail. The outcomes are more certain. However, these kinds of effects stack. An ally might have an ability that lowers the enemy's potency by 1, and then the elementalist can use their triggered action, lowering it by 1 more, allowing them to succeed if their might was 0. To put potency in D&D terms, it's roughly equivalent to a spell save DC or difficulty class, but there are some big differences. With potency, there's very little rolling. The only roll that takes place is the initial power roll. Everything that follows from that, like null field, skin like castle walls, or defensive roll, is a flat adjustment. Also, potency is a known value. The players will know each other's potency and likely know the potency of enemy effects. There's a tendency in D&D to obfuscate the spell save DC, at least until players can reasonably guess it. The reason for this obfuscation is it creates tension around the choice to use abilities like luck or divination, also creates tension around the roll itself. Of course, it can also slow down play. The rolling, the back and forth, the clarifying. In draw steal, players know right away if they're above or below the potency level, and they can figure out quickly if it's worth using abilities to increase or decrease the potency to allow them to succeed or force an enemy to fail. Now, one criticism of draw steal that I've had from my own players is that it gets rid of the randomness. It gets rid of the tension. It certainly does get rid of some of the randomness. Like I said, the only dice roll is the power roll, not any of the decisions that follow. But I think the tension is just moved to other decisions. The tension becomes, should the elementalists spend their resources to save themselves from bleeding, or should they save that resource for something else? If I do this thing, I won't be able to do that other thing that I really wanted to do. Before we wrap, I'd like to tease out a few more observations. One is that potency creates more variability, more tension in the power roll itself. If the Chorgant rolls a tier 3 result, that's really bad for me. But a tier 1 result, maybe I can handle. I care more about what's happening at any given moment, beyond just, will this damage hurt a lot or a little? Potency is also a mechanic that the players can interact with. They can lower a monster's potency or increase their own. It unlocks new sets of decisions, new ways to use abilities, new sources of tension. So what all of this means is that I am more likely to be engaged as a player. Finally, potency opens the door for more creativity in the game design. Imagine a swarm of insects where the tier 1 result is just a potency effect that applies bleed or dazed. And maybe the tier 2 or 3 results just increase the potency. There's no damage, just makes it harder to resist whatever condition the monster is affecting you with. It may also unlock new player character abilities. Imagine a group test that requires the characters to move a boulder or hold up a collapsing building. And I have an ability called the Strength to Move Mountains. If allies' might is less than my strong potency, then they can add 2 to their might score. I'm actually not sure why I couldn't just have an ability that lets me add 2 to everybody's might score, but the potency condition might actually make it less powerful or more situational. I don't know. Just brainstorming. All right, that's it. That's potency. Let me know if you have any questions, if I missed anything or made a mistake. The game is close to final, but is still in development, so all of this is subject to change. I hope this was helpful. Thanks, and have a beautiful day. See ya.